We will discuss physical and cognitive development in adolescence. For this short video, I will be focusing on the physical development. Now, how do we define the stage of adolescence? Adolescence goes from approximately age 11 or 12 to about age 19 or 20. It's also defined as the transition between childhood and adulthood, entailing physical, cognitive, and psychosocial changes. Puberty is the process by which a person attains sexual maturity and the ability to reproduce. During puberty, there are hormonal fluctuations, and they cause physical changes to the body. So for males, the hormonal changes cause the growth spurt, an increase in body hair, facial hair, a deepening of the voice, oilier skin, and body odor. And during puberty, males will experience what's called spermarche, and that's the term for the first ejaculation. Often the first ejaculation, it may be in the form of what's called a nocturnal emission, or also known as a wet dream. For females, hormonal changes also cause a growth spurt. They cause the breast to develop, the hips widen, the body becomes curvier, also body hair, oilier skin, and body odor. And females experience menarche, which is the term for first menstruation. And that marks the beginning of puberty for females. A little bit more about the hormonal changes. So for girls, there's a hormone called follicle stimulating hormone, and an increase in this hormone, that is what causes menarche, or the first menstruation. For boys, an important hormone is testosterone, and an increase in this hormone causes the spermarche, or the first ejaculation. For both males and females, hormones called androgens, they increase, and that's what causes the body hair, the body growth, the body odor, the oilier skin, and mood swings. Now, physically, adolescents experience a growth spurt. There's a sharp increase in height and weight that precedes sexual maturity. Most girls experience a growth spurt earlier than most boys, so between the ages of 11 and 13, girls tend to be taller, heavier, and stronger than boys that are the same age. But a little bit later, boys have their growth spurt and they just shoot up, and then they end up bigger than most girls on average. Girls reach full height at about age 15 and boys at about age 17. What's happening with the brain development? So as I mentioned in earlier chapters, there's dramatic brain development between the ages of 5 to age 20. So in this picture, you can see a change particularly in the gray matter. Now remember that gray matter, that is closely packed neurons. We call that the gray matter. And what happens as the person moves through the lifespan from age 5 to 20 is that the gray matter wanes from back to front of the brain as the brain matures. And so we have a decrease in gray matter. And what is happening is that unused neural connections are pruned, and then neural connections that are being used are strengthened. And this allows for faster conduction of the neural impulse. So you can see from age 5 to age 20, there are dramatic changes taking place in the brain. The corpus callosum thickens. So look at this diagram. Right here is the corpus callosum. And just to review, that's a bridge of neurons that connects the left hemisphere of the brain to the right hemisphere of the brain. And remember that the corpus callosum is not mature until the age of 15. Also, there's a brain structure called the amygdala. And one of its functions is that it's implicated in strong emotions. Then we have the prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of the brain, and the frontal lobes are implicated in reasoning, higher level thinking, and impulse control. So it's very interesting because the amygdala actually matures first before the frontal lobes. So there's a theory that one reason why adolescents sometimes engage in risky behavior or impulsive behavior is because the amygdala develops first before the part of the brain that is implicated in impulse control and rational thinking. So that's why we call the adolescent brain immature, because it's so important to remember that the brain is still developing all the way through adolescence and into early adulthood. And in fact, because it's so well established that the adolescent brain is not fully developed and it's not mature, it's quite interesting that in 2005, the US Supreme Court ruled that the death penalty is illegal for minors, for people under age 18 convicted of murder, due to the fact that the adolescent brain is still developing. So a major takeaway point is to remember that the brain is not fully developed all the way through childhood, through adolescence, and not until early adulthood. So we just want to advise younger people, adolescents, to try to keep in mind that their brain's not fully developed and to maybe slow down, take their time making decisions, and really think things through. Try not to engage in any kind of impulsive behavior, and just remember that the brain is still developing all the way until early adulthood.